Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of the V2 series. As you can see, a lot has changed, but I want to start with the PCBs that I talked about in the previous video and probably even longer than that, because I think I made a progress update or something like that as well with these. So as you can see, I finally have these. I have in total 4 boards for the specific to the V2. But firstly, let's look at these. So as you can see, these have serial type connectors on it. This is DB15, this is DB9, and this is 17W2. And this is the motherboard, as I called it in the earlier videos. So as you can see, all 3 cables go in here, plus there are some screw terminals. I'll show this assembled as well in a second. And well, everything from the motors to sensors to power to fans, basically everything plugs in to these areas where I mounted soldered KK connectors. This is the one that goes behind the bed. Again, looks pretty similar. The DB9 runs to this, plus you can see I have a couple of resistors and LEDs. Those are for lighting up whenever the layer fan and the hot end fan are running. This is the one that goes on the gantry. I put the logo upside down. It goes like this. Actually, never mind, it's not upside down. I looked at it upside down. I'm an idiot, never mind. Anyway, this is where the DB15 goes. We have connections for the X and Y motors and the limit switches here, plus one labeled expansion. And that has power and ground running from the Raspberry Pi, plus one GPIO, so I could add anything I want. Theoretically, I can add progress bar kit LEDs here, for example, if I want to, although I have a plan of still mounting it on the tool head, so yeah, I could use this for something else, I guess, as well. Maybe a filament switch, something like that, I don't know. It's just for future expansion. And here I have a mounting place for a DHT22 sensor, and this is just a resistor for that. And again, well, it runs from the power, ground and GPIO from the Raspberry Pi. One of these pins isn't connected, I forgot which one. And finally, this is the tool head board. So again, pretty much the same idea. This mounts to the back of the extruder motor. I'll show this in a second as well. And we connect everything here. Let's move to the printer. So first of all, here is the tool head board. As you can see, it, as I explained, it mounts behind the stepper motor. I had to be creative when it comes to mounting this, just inserting a screw in here, cutting the head off, then mounting this standoff, and then just directly screwing into that. Also, I had to use button heads instead of socket heads, which is normally what I prefer, but there just wasn't enough clearance with the direct chain back here, so yeah, that's the way I did it. Moving on to the back, you can see the thick cable here. It looks pretty similar to this, and that's for a reason. It's the same series of this EGOS cable, but instead of being 18 gauge, this is 20 gauge, or actually I forgot, but something like that, maybe 22. Anyway, the DB15 is soldered onto that, but I couldn't use a housing here. There just wasn't enough clearance for it to come out straight. It had to be 90 degrees, and I didn't have a housing on hand that suited that, so yeah, we will probably 3D print something there and put it on after the fact so that it looks nicer. But again, you can see the one of the motors is connected, the other one and the limit switches I'll connect later in a bit, and you can see the DHT22 back there as well. Also, you'll notice that I had to use a pretty wide, I guess you call it bending angle probably, for the cable, and again that's because of this thick EGOS cable, but yeah, it works, so doesn't really matter. You can also see the bedboard here. Again, I wired everything into that. From here I will run to the motherboard. From the motherboard it will run to the SSR. and this is for earth, so that's why it has 3 poles. Also, not sure if I will be able to show it, maybe like this. I swapped to the new Z limit switch housing. That's because the cables came off and I thought I might as well swap. So yeah, that's running there, and the regular thermistor is running back there as well. They're running to this DB9. This is just a standard cable, I didn't make this one myself. It goes around here, comes to the motherboard just like the other 2 cables as well. Again, I will run the heater wires here, and I will run anything that I need to these KKs as well. So yeah, that's about it for what I did so far. Next I want to do in this episode is I need to have a deck panel here. So actually, before I talk about that, since I'm sure you will comment down below after you see this mess, yes, my WhamBam PEI arrived, and yes, this is a horrible job of applying it, but I do have an excuse. I normally don't let my cat in this room, but I accidentally left the door a little open and my cat snuck in, and right when I was applying this, he jumped on this, and well, yeah, you can see the result. How dare I pay attention to something else other than him? So yeah, I'll have to order another one or something like that, but for now it does the job, other than a few bubble marks and stuff like that. Like, I guess this is a sneak peek at V0 if it isn't released yet. This corner of the top head, as you can see, is not that great looking, so yeah, it is the result of these bubbles. I tried pushing them out with a few tools. I couldn't find them right now, but yeah, couldn't get rid of most of them, so yeah, this is what it is for now. Anyway, moving back to the deck panel, I want to do that this episode now. I really like the rear panel we got back there from composite, so by composite I mean 2 thin aluminum and LDPE in between, so I got another one of those. I think I can get rid of these marks with just some alcohol. And this side is the nice anthracite color that we have on the back. This side, just like the back panel, is a different color for some reason. Don't know why, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. So next thing I will do in this video is I'm going to cut this, mount it in place, and do the wiring. The deck panel is now in place after undoing the screws, or not forgetting to undo them like a moron. This is the deck panel here. Unfortunately, I did have to do a little bit of a modification to fit these the joints on these gas struts, but other than that, it fits in here. And again, removing these is fairly easy, since these are 2 pieces. Even with these corner pieces in here, you can very easily just grab them and pull, and you can see it is fairly easy to remove. It is a little harder to insert them back in one-handed, so I'm going to leave that for now, because again, it's just that I'm one-handed when recording these. Also did the wiring back here, so everything is now finally wired properly. And well, one more thing that actually I was planning on talking about in the last video, but I forgot, is you'll notice that I'm back to the OMC steppers. I told you in that video that I was going to try these LDO steppers, and I did. That's why they have the heatsink on them, even though they don't need it. I just wanted to match the old setup. But the thing is, these aren't powerful enough and I was skipping steps. So yeah, I had to go back to OMCs back there. The advantage with these would have been, on top of being high temperature rated, which isn't a big deal, these can run faster, and these are 0.9 stepping degree, so they should give you more resolution. I'm not giving up on this. I'll try different steppers over time. I think there is another LDO stepper that's recommended at the moment, so I will try that later. But yeah, not going to be in this episode. So yeah, as I said, the deck panel is now in place, and we can move on to doing some other things. Also, you'll notice that, again, sorry I forgot, these hinges and the magnetic pieces are in place. These are the stock Voron 2.4 ones, and well, they work, but you use the VHP tape to attach your acrylic panels, and well, they don't really hold the panel in place. So yeah, I'll have to figure something else out and print that solution, which will probably be just drill holes drilled in the acrylic and the plastic pieces as well. I'll have to figure out how to drill acrylic, but yeah, that seems to be the most sensible solution. So again, anyway, I think that's it for now, so I'll come back to you once I have more to talk about. The front doors are now ready. As you can see, I printed all of the pieces and mounted them with screws. I had to drill the acrylic for this. I kind of was worried about drilling the acrylic, but well, I didn't destroy it at least. So yeah, as you can see, everything is working now. There is a little bit of a gap in between. I think this is due to the mod, because in the earlier mod I did on the 2.2, this gap didn't exist, so I think this mod has the panels mounted slightly more outwards, and that's why the gap exists. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter, because, well, as you know, I keep it in an enclosure, so there is no heat getting out or issue. Even if it gets out of there, it's in this enclosure. I can have to get out of this as well, so yeah, it kinda even is like a chamber heater in some way, obviously not heating but insulating. This video is going to have a bit of an abrupt end, sorry for that, but I'm basically at the limit of what I can do today, and I really want to release the video, well, not even tomorrow, it's technically today now, and so yeah, the editing, uploading, etc. I really can't get anything more done, so yeah, I guess I should walk you through some of what I did. As you know, I connected the LEDs to the relays, also wired the DHT22 sensor through the motherboard to the Raspberry Pi, wired the buttons to the SKR board here, the one with the broken analog inputs and broken SD card reader, so not sure if this will work well or not. Again, we will see, but in theory, at least in my mind, this should work. And well, yeah, this is designed to be an input for Klipper. The rest of what I mentioned is for Octoprint, so yeah, that's one thing that's different. You'll also notice the breadboard here. That's so that I can have a breakout for SPIs. Right now, the only thing connected to the SPI bus is the Max 31865 board here, my PT100 sensor for the hot end. But I want to connect more, at least temporarily that is, I want to connect the ADXL345 accelerometer for the Klipper input shaper stuff, and I will make a separate video about that containing information both from the V2 and from the V0, so that's an update for you V0 viewers as well. It won't be in the V0 episode, and the one I do for the V2 won't be in the next V2 episode either. I will combine that information to a separate Klipper input shaper ADXL345 accelerometer video, so yeah, that is coming, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's why I needed a breakout for the SPI bus, and well, yeah, I used this breadboard. Also, another breakout is for the 3.3 volt rail, again because there isn't enough connectors on the Raspberry Pi itself. And yeah, I guess that's it in terms of the physical changes. I also started doing some of the configuration. The first thing I did was to get the relay working for the LED lighting, and well, if I turn off the LEDs, you can see that it turned off. Now the exposure of the webcam is adjusting, so that's why it's getting brighter, but the LEDs are definitely turned off, believe me. And well, if I turn it back on, you'll also be able to tell from the just the whole bright image from here. So yeah, the LED relay is working just like my power supply control before that was working, before I did the basement upgrade, electronics chamber upgrade, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, this is working. I'm not going to control the power supply this time. I don't think that was really necessary, to be honest. I just wanted to fill the 4-pole relay board. I'll probably eventually find other uses for the remaining 3 relays. I am thinking about controlling the ventilation fan that I have that goes outside from the enclosure, which is an AC powered fan, but still the relays should be able to safely handle that, so I may control that through that, for example. But yeah, for now it's just controlling the LEDs. Also started doing the configuration for the DHT22 sensor, but you can see that I'm not getting any reading. Now I am pretty sure I know what the problem is here. I tried a bunch of stuff, actually I spent hours on this, but from what I understand, and this is more like an educated guess than an actual analysis or whatever you want to call it, it's just an educated guess, but from what I understand, this seems to be the problem. This seems to be a problem with Python. The plugins for Octoprint, most of them, including the enclosure plugin, they're written in Python 2. But yeah, for some reason, the Python 2 doesn't really get a reading. So you can see that if I run this command on Python 2, I just get a random error. And well, I did a bunch of reinstalls, uninstalls, different configurations, etc. It used to be just said something along the lines of couldn't get a reading or something like that. Now it's giving me this, but yeah, honestly it doesn't really matter. If I follow the exact same installation steps with Python 3, you can see that I'm getting a reading. So yeah, if you execute the command in Python 3, that's working just fine. So this is definitely something to do with Python. But I should also note that the Adafruit DHT library on GitHub, which is where I got the drivers from, it is deprecated. They switched to something else, but this enclosure plugin only runs on that Adafruit library, so there's also the problem with that. It doesn't support Raspberry Pi 4. I had to modify some of the files. I don't exactly remember the path of the file, but you can find it by googling if you really need to. You need to manually add the support by adding 2 lines to platform check or something like that, some Python script that detects the platform you're running on. I did it for both of those, 2 and 3 separately, by the way, so that's not the issue here. But yeah, this definitely is outdated, is the summary of it. So yeah, the enclosure plugin, until it gets an update to something more new or something more modern, I don't think the DHT22 sensor will work. I'm not 100% if Klipper supports this. I'll look into this. If Klipper supports it, I'll wire it to a SCARE and run it that way, but again, I'm running out of time. And again, for the same reason, I couldn't test the buttons yet in the front. So both of those are, well, I can't promise the DHT22, but the buttons at least are coming in the next episode, and I'm sure I'll have at least some sort of an update for the DHT22 in the next episode as well. But again, I don't know if I can get it working or not. Well, I guess I don't know about the buttons either, because who knows what. Something will definitely happen. It's because Murphy. But whatever happens, hopefully I can fix it. Also, the plan for the next episode was and still is to finally assemble, test, install, print and then tune for the Afterburner Galileo extruder. I got the stepper motor and MJF printed parts a long time ago, back when I did the V0 parts unboxing. At the time I didn't install it because, well, I wanted to have one working printer until I get the V0 working. Now the V0 is working, so I can, you know, experiment a bit more easily. So yeah, that's the plan for the next episode as well. And yeah, hopefully that will turn out well as well, but again, we will see. And also, as I said, the ADXL345 accelerometer stuff for both the V2 and the V0, which will probably be in the same video, I will make a separate video about those. So again, stay tuned for that. That's coming to the channel as well. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. We did a decent amount, so I hope you enjoyed it. I know the editing on this video was a little weirder. That's because, again, this was recorded over a very long time, and yeah, that's kind of the reason I had to cut a lot of footage. Plus, some footage was lost as well because I accidentally deleted them. So yeah, I still hope it was watchable, and again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like down below, and thanks for watching.